I see the classroom as a tower of loosely placed Lego blocks. The Lego blocks represent learners, differentiated according to their abilities. The tower is wobbly, however it stands, and it's obvious that the blocks are grouped together. In order for a close-knit, strong and stable tower, I want the blocks to fit tightly into each other, relying on each other to stand tall and not topple over. If I try to pull the tower upwards, the blocks will quickly detach from each other and fall into a heap. If I push the tower upwards from the base blocks, the blocks will fit into one another and be closely bound. The blocks at the top of the tower must learn the importance and responsibility of being leaders and looking out for those below them. The blocks that form the base of the tower provide a firm foundation for the blocks to feel supported. When each block is aware of their specific role in the group, they are safe to grow and flourish in a caring and cohesive environment. Newman suggests that when students from all backgrounds are expected to perform work of high intellectual quality, overall student academic performance increases and equity gaps diminish. I believe that it is important for students to feel like they are being pushed and to recognise their own stages of learning. Now, this is not to say that we should throw differentiation to the wind and require lower achieving students to attempt tasks way beyond their abilities. Students are acutely aware of their own capacities and are conscious to not stand out as too dumb or too smart. It is our role as a teacher to deliver a curriculum to our students that encompasses individualities, interests and abilities. Similar to John Dewey's musings, in order to engage our students at their different levels, we must harness student individual interests to make our lessons meaningful and interesting and appropriate. Bibby outlines the importance of a learner-centered pedagogy, where students' needs are met and acknowledged, and that is the foundation of unit planning, rather than planning units around what must be taught. Kinchlow also believes that this is the beginning of creating independent quality learners. Kinchlow and I share the desire to see classrooms that reject traditional authoritarian student-teacher relationships, and we both hold the opinion that knowledge is found through self-exploration and the designing of individual ideas and opinions that empower learners' growth and identity. I'm a passionate educator. I'm driven to see learners succeed in the attaining of new skills and tools to help them navigate all stages of life. I am driven to establish a close relationship with my students based on trust, mutual respect, and understanding. When a close teacher-learner relationship is formed, motivations for learning are increased. My students are encouraged to self-manage and self-motivate, aware that these are life skills designed to help them achieve in all stages of life and in all areas of life. I believe that students learn best when they are challenged to achieve their best in a non-threatening environment, with the freedom to represent their learning through many different mediums. I endeavour to inspire my students by introducing them to new worlds found in different literature available to us through digital technologies. By setting achievable yet stimulating learning goals at the commencement of each lesson, the learning environment I seek to create commends victory, encourages challenge, and celebrates diversity. I am able to differentiate my teaching and planning to suit the needs of my students. In order to successfully differentiate, I believe that it's important to foster an environment of self-awareness and honesty in the classroom. An example of this is in my teaching of a science inquiry unit at the beginning of the year. I reflected on ways to best get my students involved and excited about studying weather patterns. I knew that a bunch of my students were deeply engaged in the science unit and craved extension, while I had other students who were battling to concentrate and had little interest in the subject. So I decided to simplify the task. Students simply needed to complete a KWL chart. This task was non-threatening and familiar to all members of the class. I introduced a fist to 5 challenge to the class. Students who were feeling ready for a challenge showed me a 5. Students that wanted extra help to work in a focus group showed me a fist or a 1. And those who were ready to give it a go and to see how they went showed between a 2 and a 4. I put to the students that those who wanted a bit of an extra challenge could work in a pair with a computer and use a series of found websites to help them fill out their work. Students who were going to give it a go could either use one website, some library resources and a fact sheet that I had made. Students who thought they needed extra help we're going to use the interactive whiteboard, a fact sheet, and sit on the floor with me. Students were given 20 minutes to be able to chat with friends, explore the resources, and clarify questions. Then they were to work in whisper voices and individually for the next 20 minutes. This was done so that the students were eased into the task, but then also required to work individually so that they could accurately represent their own learning. By giving the students the same task, but differentiated resources, they were able to meet the learning outcomes set to the whole group. The language that was used in each resource was differed, allowing students who were taking on an extra challenge to also extend their vocabularies. It meant that students working in a focus group did not have to worry about complicated new words, but simply be engaged by the content. Individual learning styles were met as the resources engaged with kinesthetic learners who had to navigate web pages, visual learners who studied graphs, tables and charts, and auditory learners who could watch video YouTube clips. The students were engaged in the task and they all produced a high level of work that displayed learning way above what was expected at level 3. Hinchy doubts the effectiveness of learning tasks if the outcomes produced have not been organised, researched and contextualised by the learner themselves. During my teaching rounds this year, I have grown close to the family of a student who has several learning disabilities. This student, Aaron, we'll call him for this assignment, is beautiful, delightful and well-spoken, traits instilled in him by his parents. At the beginning of the year, I was made aware of Aaron's various conditions in a meeting with his teacher from 2014. On the first day of school, Aaron's mother made an appointment to sit with my supervisor and I to discuss Aaron's learning needs. I sought to quickly establish a personal and professional rapport with the family, knowing that the better the relationship with the parents, the more school-to-home learning can be utilised. After chatting about Aaron's particular educational needs, we began to brainstorm ways to help Aaron to be resilient and be a better self-manager. I then created a series of checklists for Aaron to attach to his school bag to help his morning and afternoon routines run more smoothly. The template I created was then sent to Aaron's mother to allow her to create similar checklists for at home so that they are both in a uniform layout. Each Friday, Aaron's parents are sent a brief overview of the next week's maths and literacy units. This is so that they can extend learning at home to help prepare Aaron for the week ahead. Aaron has responded wonderfully to this system and he feels much more confident in class to participate. This is because he's already begun to work on the unit prior to it beginning at school. I have always found that my lessons are more concise, thorough and engaging when I set learning goals and success criteria even before I begin my planning. My students also respond positively when they are aware from the very start of the lesson what it is we'll be covering and how they will know if they've achieved what they need to. At the school I am at this year for placement, as they are trialling a learning goals success criteria culture and are finding similar results. We were encouraged at a staff meeting to attempt to set LG and SC for each lesson. This was quite tricky to do, especially during inquiry lessons. Upon conversation with my supervisor, I decided to plan my lessons and outline learning goals and success criteria for each task. Lessons that took more than one period, I would introduce both the learning goals and success criteria, but not place emphasis on the success criteria until later in the lesson. Students must always be aware of both the learning goals and success criteria in order for the lesson to be successful. I set challenging learning goals while ensuring that they are achievable by all class members, allowing for different areas of extension and differentiation.